What is up, everybody? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, Rafa Esparza, coming to you with another great installment of your Bullpen PGF preview show. Yeah, that's right. We got a preview show. We have some friends who will be joining us. We'll get to them in a second. But first and foremost, it is great to see you guys on great stuff. Listen, so many wonderful things to talk about, and it has been fantastic to see you guys interacting with us, talking with us, getting excited about the PGF that is coming up starting April 21st with the draft and going all week long. That's right, all week long. We're going to have several days of coverage, and we have our news team assembled here for your viewing pleasure. But first and foremost, if you want to buy some merch, check this out. Grappling Hour merch, support you. Go on over to rafasparza.com/merch. You can also get yourself a hoodie over there. In addition to that, if you like what you're seeing here, go on over to Grappling Hour on the Patreon. So that's patreon.com/Grappling Hour. Check us out. We have new episodes going up constantly. This month is incredibly stacked. And we have some PGF vets who will be on there as well. Mike John's interview should be debuting in a couple days. And I believe we're going to have some other friends joining us very, very soon. Speaking of which, I want to tell you guys, like, comment, and share, and subscribe, all of those things. If you don't have something you want to comment on by the end of this episode, we will give you something to comment about. ADCC trials were this weekend, and as a result, we have to assemble the news team again to get all of the information, all of the dirt. And for that, we turn first to one of the human beings that was commentating at the ADCC trials itself. We welcome back to the show, one Jake Watson. Jake, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing very well, Raf. I appreciate you welcoming me back on the show after my, last week's number 9 ranking, ranked only above Diddy and below the audience. So it's nice to be back. I'm feeling in better spirits this week, and it was a great weekend.
Do you feel that you're ranked higher now? Do you feel that you have merited something to be higher than 9?
I would hope that my stock would increase with ADCC trials and Diddy's would only continue to decrease. So hopefully there's at least one ranking spot that separates me and P. Diddy.
It's not looking good right now. You know, I'm going to go on over to Tim. This is a better transition right now. Tim Freeman joining us, who also was making some cameos on our live telethon coverage of all things ADCC. Tim, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. It was a great weekend. It was great chatting with you guys this weekend. Had a really nice action-packed Saturday and Sunday full of fights. So stoked to talk about those, man.
When you say action-packed, what does that mean exactly? Were you fighting people? Did you have a lot of action movies that you were watching? Because action-packed usually means that you're involved in the action.
Well, I do a lot of shadow grappling while I'm watching the matches. So I did a lot of reenacting. I slapped a couple of my kids. I made my wife throw up. I did a bunch of crazy stuff, just kind of watching these matches, doing some reenactment work. So it's action-packed.
Right.
I'm an active watcher.
We're already getting to the throw up. I should let you guys know this. There is no throw up on the countdown board, and here is why. John Combs is a friend, and I feel it's one of those moments that, while yes, we should look at the footage, I felt an immediate sense of, oh no, because he's the homie. And then I hope he's doing okay. I got word, actually, he took it in stride. Jake, can you affirm or deny any of these accusations?
I saw him with somebody at the tournament. He was taking a picture with somebody who had a big sign that said, "Make vomiting legal," which I think is a great, he immediately posted about it, explained the whole situation. I mean, you know, sometimes you're grappling so hard. He was grappling against Andy freaking Varela, and he threw up mid-match. It's not exactly the easiest match to be had. So it seemed like he's taking it in a good stride. Obviously, he's disappointed. John Combs is a super, super serious competitor, but he's taking it in stride for sure.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I said, all right, I'm going to make fun of it for the amount of time that it interests me. But to put it on the board and to continuously do that, we're not going to do that. But it is interesting, though, that John Combs is somebody who is in the PGF, and I'd like to argue he may be able to go into a redemption arc. And Tim, do you feel that that is the case? Is this the perfect opportunity for him to make this comeback and show people why he is who he is and a former trials winner in his own right?
Absolutely. Look, if somebody makes you vomit, I know you don't want to talk about it, but this is the rule of the streets. If somebody makes you vomit, the only way you can get that back is to make them vomit. So he's going to have to go out there and bear hug Andy Varela, bring Ipecac syrup. He's going to have to do something to get this one back. You have to get it back. You can't let it go unchecked. It has to be gotten back.
And Raph, I have an
Yes.
idea for the redemption story of John Combs. From throwing up to throwing down, the redemption of John Combs.
Yep. All right. You
Oh,
just
wow.
named the
Hey,
DVD
Keelan.
cover of it right there.
Hey,
That's
come on,
the
man. That's freaking
straight
nice,
to
right?
Netflix title to the action
Redbox.
movie of John Combs.
Redbox, straight to Redbox.
Oh my God. It's taking this to a place. The reason why I was asking about the redemption arc is, and I didn't actually plan this, so you can tell that I'm doing this live. Normally I do all of my planning way in advance. As you guys know, the board doesn't just magically happen. It takes a minute to make. But the reason why I want to bring this up as a redemption arc, this is the first time I've seen jiu-jitsu look like a comic book. And see if you can hear what I'm saying here. This photo that I'm about to put up, it looked like something straight out of Frank Miller's Batman comic. Like, this is 100% the Joker and Batman. And it made me think to myself, I've never seen something like this. Like, throw up aside, it looked like a cover to something. And I had even sent that note on over to Andy. And I was like, hey, man, congrats. That's an iconic photo. And the one thing one of the guys said on our broadcast was, they go, well, let's make the next LXB shirt right now. And I was like, don't do that to my boy John Combs. Don't do that. I'm not here for that one.
It could be an album cover as well. That's still explicit content in the bottom right corner.
So,
Black
all
and
right,
white.
guys, let's do this. We have a lot of work to do. I will point this on out. We're going to go straight to the board in itself. As a reminder, the board works as such. Each board topic will get 3 minutes. If somebody here decides that they either want to take or give one of the minutes for somebody else, they can do that once per episode. Last week found it to great effect, as we both, myself and Jake, both gave Tim a topic that maybe he didn't want to speak about, and he had to filibuster his way through it. And I argue, not a bad filibuster, Tim. So are you nervous that we might do this trick on you again?
Oh, I'm fully expecting it every show now. I just think this is going to be the norm. It'll just turn into the bit where you guys screw me over every show. So I'm ready today, man. I'm ready.
I like that you're like, this is the only show where you can appear to talk about things, and you're like, you screwed me over by making me talk about stuff. Totally unexpected. All right, let's look at what the board topics are for today. And we start off with this. The number one topic is going to be tribulations. So with this one, we will put the time on this board, and I will ask you, and I'm going to start off with this. Jake Watson, did trials change your opinion of any season 6 athlete?
I'll say this. I think that there was a lot of competitors who competed who we look at and we go, yeah, that guy's definitely going to make it to the semifinal. And I think that while I didn't disagree with that regarding Max Hansen, seeing him go all the way how he did, I mean, he made it to the semifinal, lost in the constellation match, but he looked incredible. And if anything, it changed even more for the better. He's been riding an incredible wave of momentum coming into ADCC trials. He won the Enigma Invitational, $10,000 Grand Prix, made it to the final of the Zapatero Invitational, and then comes to ADCC West Coast Trials, one of the hardest tournaments in the entire world, and does a very good job there. I think that he's kind of gone up. And when I released the Jake Watson Media PGF rankings that I was told Keelan would be mad if I didn't make, then I am going to definitely put him a little bit higher on my list because Max Hansen looks great, and I think my opinion of him changed for the better.
Very nice. We'll be sure to let him know that you have changed your opinion on them. All right, Tim, we go to you.
Better.
No. I'm just going to tell him that they changed. He has to go look at it for himself. He's got to go give us some views. Tim, you're up.
Well, it's interesting that you brought up Hansen. I think Varela said that he was surprised that he had such an easy time with Hansen, which maybe that's just Varela being Batman, like just doing his thing. But I thought Hansen did pretty well. I also thought AJ Agazarm did pretty well. He made it to the second day. Cam Hurd had a real nice trials. So those guys, they looked pretty good. I feel like they kind of went up in my brain. I probably, when I released the rankings, I think I had Cam Hurd artificially low, maybe ruffled some feathers there. Maybe he did so well because it was motivation. I'm not sure. But, you know, I think those three guys, they kind of moved up in my books.
I want to point this out right now, which is that, to my knowledge, and Egghead can get in the corrections at some point if I am incorrect on this, but it did look like 12 out of 20 of the competitors that we have at PGF Season 6 were at trials this weekend. And I want to point this out. Tim, you did mention somebody who I had eyes on, which was, yes, if you look at it, Cam Hurd, I think, maybe under consideration for a little bit higher of a ranking, in my opinion. He did look very welcomed and like in that zone. And being in that zone in the month of competition, not for nothing. You mentioned AJ, he did look very good. Ben Eddy didn't quite get the tournament that he wanted. A couple of our guys only were one and dones or like 2 and out, if you would. So I don't know that that ruins the rankings, but I'll ask this to the panel. If people only had maybe a short appearance at ADCC, do you think that affects them negatively on the upcoming ratings?
I think
it kind of depends on who they fought.
Go ahead.
I realize now I have to tell you which to talk, because then it just becomes, hold on. Okay, let's go with this. I'm going to just go in order. Why don't we go Jake? Jake, what were you saying, sir?
I was going to say it depends on who they fought. It's like a matchup for matchup thing. If they fought another PGF athlete, or if they go out there, maybe they get caught. I think that we got to kind of look at the match, how it went, and every factor that went into it. I couldn't make that kind of judgment call off of one short performance.
Could you imagine, though, if somebody from the PGF is facing somebody who's not remotely in the PGF, and then we got to rank those guys too? So now you're trying to put a weighted scale to some other rando that's supposed to be a dunkable that you're like, well, it's dunkable. What's his name? Maybe he might be free the week of April 21st. I just think to myself, this is not a perfect science. Tim, I ask you the same question, though. Are you looking at these guys? And then by proxy, you know, is it kind of one of those, I stab you, I take your spot now? Because, I mean, this is the Coliseum. Now I've basically made my way into Caesar's favor.
Maybe, I think, is the answer. The tricky thing about jiu-jitsu math is it's jiu-jitsu math and it doesn't necessarily work. But there was a little bit of that going on. You saw Buring lost to Alan Sanchez, I believe, and then Combs turned around and beat Alan Sanchez. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything in the world of jiu-jitsu. Like, the styles kind of dictate the matchups. I do think it does say something for the momentum and the mindset that they're going to come into PGF with. Some guys can take a loss and use it as fuel and turn around and really come back hard. Other guys take that loss and they wear it pretty hard, and you know that could negatively impact them. So it's hard to say, but definitely I think you want to go into PGF on a high. You want to at least have made it to day 2. There were some one and dones at ADCC. That's not going to help them. You know, I don't think that's going to be a good thing for them. So
good to know. All right. Well, now that we've kind of discussed this on out, I did want to kind of bring up a couple things here, which is that, yes, it's not a perfect science, but it is one that has garnered some attention. We saw some other folks put up some rankings this week, and when that does happen, I think they got feedback in the same way maybe, Tim, you got feedback, and maybe even worse than the feedback that the actual PGF official listings came out. So as people who have made rankings here, what advice do you have for young Jake Watson, who has to go and put some rankings together very soon here, Tim?
My advice is this. All you have to really do is get the top 5 kind of nailed. The rest, everyone's going to be upset about. What I did was I just had my assistant pick the rest. I did the top 5. I put some names in a hat. I said, hey, man, get the rest of these. And they were mostly right. They were pretty close. A few guys were off. A few guys were on. So my advice to you, Jake, would be to chat with your kids, get their feedback on the ranking, let them take part in it, let them operate. You get the first 5, family gets the other 15.
My son is 5 months old. He is not able to tell me about the rankings, which actually sounds like it's about what you're looking for. It's just absolutely no help.
Did you just make your son your assistant? The dude literally said, find an assistant and make
No,
that.
he said talk to your kids. He said talk to your kids.
I'm telling you, his version was at least like, I don't know, man. I had somewhere to be. I had a dinner at Spago. I threw the keys to my assistant and I said, lock up and pick the rest of these 15 Yahoos. Meanwhile, yeah, you could talk to your kids. He might be saying like metaphorical. I don't know if you know this. Basically, everybody to us is a child. So he could be saying, I don't know, the youths that are your age, talk to the streets. Because don't forget, Tim was giving us valuable information from the streets earlier when he was telling us what John Combs needs to do, which, by the way, the fact that I didn't acknowledge that sentence right then and right there, and I had to remind myself right now that it was like, is Tim legitimately trying to tell us what the streets are feeling at this moment? It's different when you lived in NorCal, but now you live in Nashville, and I don't know how dangerous those streets are, sir.
Well, the mean streets of Nashville are not the same as the mean streets of Stockton. That's for sure. But I got my ear to the ground. I know what's going on. And that is the rule of the streets. That's how it works.
Oh, man.
I can respect that.
Well, yes. The Jake Watson, who's never even crossed a street before, is going to go ahead and give you that.
Come on, dude.
Not on the bad side of town, I promise you. Jake always he walks perfectly on the sidewalks, wonders why we can't jaywalk, but still adheres to all the rules. Let's go to our second topic here, and that is going to be creative. Now, this was interesting. Jake, was this one your topic?
No, this was Tim's.
Tim, you put up who had the most creative submission. So, yeah, we're going to start with you. Tim, who had the most creative submission at PGF trials, or I'm sorry, at ADCC trials?
Well, I really want to talk about John Combs, but I'm not going to do that because I have tremendous respect for you. And out of your friendship with him, I'm not even going to bring that up as a submission, although I do think it is highly creative if you could cause that to happen. So tip of the cap to Varela, but we'll move past that. I thought the heel hook that Tackett got, was that in the finals or the semifinals? It might have been the semifinals.
It was
that was the finals. It was like a handheld heel hook. That was pretty damn cool, and it happened really fast, happened on the fly, and I don't think anyone saw it coming. I had to go back and watch that replay a couple of times just to kind of sort out what was going on. Usually when somebody grabs the foot, the brain goes to toe hold, but he pulled off a nice heel hook variation that I have yet to see, and he did it under pressure in the finals, the West Coast trials. So my vote goes for Tackett.
I mean, I'll definitely give you that, but I want to point that out too. With Tackett's attack there, the way he was able, in an area that most people won't necessarily attack that particular submission finish, it was like he was using part of the mat like you do when you get a wrist lock. Like you're basically creating it to compound it so that you put pressure down, and it made it even worse. Because when I saw it, I go, oh, he wants to go home. Good for him. So yes, that was something good. Tim, thank you for that. Jake, let's go into your time right now.
All right. Well, Tim actually stole mine, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give my time over to Tim Freeman because I want to hear another creative submission that he had.
Here's the good news. Because I had to fill in some blank time there, Tim, this time is all yours, the remaining 1 minute and 10 seconds.
Okay, if you're going to give me this time, then we're going to talk about what I want to talk about. Oh, and that is the Andy Varela v. John Combs throw up in 2024. Look,
sorry for this.
I'm going to tell you, the happiest guy in the world right now is the dude from about 10 years ago who was in a jiu-jitsu match, in a triangle, dude farted, and then he threw up on the guy. I don't know if you guys remember this. It's one of the infamous old school jiu-jitsu video memes. That guy's the happiest guy in the world now because everybody has forgot about that guy. All we're thinking about is John Combs in front of the camera, Instagrammed out. You know that's the most views and likes he's probably ever gotten on a video since he's been on social media. It's a big, big boost for him. I think it was brilliant by Varela. He pushed the pace and pushed the pace and pushed the pace. until Combs had nothing left. He couldn't even hold down the tuna salad he had for lunch. It all had to come out.
I'm so sorry,
You
Raph.
did this.
No, you know what? Hold
on.
Not only did he do it, but the streets confirmed this is Jake's fault. So I want to point this out here. The people are saying it. And I actually just got a note from Andy, not Andy Varela, but Andy Gamesu.
That
says,
uh-oh.
holy shit, inside BJJ Tim Freeman? Yes, him. He is here.
Nice.
I'm
here, Andy.
Let me just say this, guys. This one hurts. Yeah, okay. I'm going to give all due respect. Andy Varela pushed the pace. Definitely created a storyline that maybe we didn't expect here. I talked a little bit about the splash zone in terms of people going outside and potentially getting hit by flying members of the ADCC Trials community who went off the mats. Turns out there is an actual splash zone now for projectile vomit. So I guess I wasn't wrong. I just didn't know what area I would be right in my prediction. So I would say that. I want to give just a couple notes here. There were a couple creative things that I saw in addition that I'll just very quickly comment on, but I won't use too much time. Boogie, of course, had a great moment. His flexibility, still very impressive. Now, granted, he couldn't go on the rest of the day, and I didn't know this. Tim, did we talk about this over the weekend where there was a potential bite that happened?
I think we did.
So
I couldn't quite get to the bottom of it.
We have no idea. So, Jake, you were there. You, I'm sure, became aware of the fact that Boogie couldn't continue for day 2. I read it initially as an injury, but the streets, which we know can be inconsistent at times, somebody was saying, well, he was in a YouTube video showing that he had some sort of bite mark or something that happened from that. And I was just very confused. I was like, did he had to decline because of rabies? Like, I don't understand what's happening here. So did you get an official word here for any reason?
No, I'm not as well versed in the streets, I suppose, because I did not hear anything like that. I heard exclusively that Boogie was hurt.
Yeah, the extent to which this was, I don't know. But this is the information I get in my comment section as I am in the middle of something. And I'm depending on the word of the street to kind of give us the information. And when they told me, they're like, oh, yeah. It's not just that he was injured. He got bit, too. And I go, huh? Are you sure you didn't get your wires crossed off your neighborhood app? Like, what is happening here, guy? So I had a moment, and I'm glad we were able to not get to the bottom of that. But we continue on. And one other quick thing. I was really pissed at Chris Wojcik, who was under duress and basically was able to just get out of all the wrestling scrambles in the easiest of forms. At one point, his opponent was kind of leapfrogging, almost like he was going to take part of his arm with him. And Wojcik did the equivalent of just stand up. Not a fan. I'm over it. That kid, too good.
I love Wojcik. He's a great dude.
I do too. He wore the brand. He was actually wearing the Grappling Hour hoodie, so he gets all the love and support from this show. All right, we go to our next topic. This one is robbery. Okay, so this one's dicey, and here's why. Some things happen, guys, and I mean, when they happen, it takes a minute for us to get to the bottom of it, but we have assembled the news team here, and I think that it is time for us to figure out whether these were points or not. So we're looking at the footage. This was Adam Bradley. What is missing is the audio of Jake screaming, are these points? Is he going to do it? And yet at the same point, according to the referees, no, he didn't. And yet all I could think of at this moment was, if those aren't points, they sure kind of look like them. But I'll start with you, Tim. Were those points?
Well, I got to defer to the streets. And on the streets, that's sweet. Listen, he didn't turtle. Turtle's like the magic mushroom in ADCC. If you could turtle, you can get out of all things or go into all things. There's no turtling happening. It's a distinct position change. I think it's Pixley, Michael Pixley. He's on his back. He's not off of his back. I mean, well, okay, his back's not technically touching the mat, but it's kind of facing the mat. Like, okay, he's up on an elbow, but okay, it's not a pass, but for sure he's not on top. And if it's not a sweep, then how do you classify Adam's position there? What position is he in? Is he on his back? Of course he's not. He's on top. It's got to be a sweep. I'm really interested in hearing what you have to say, Jake, being that you were right there and you were sitting right next to the chief ref.
Yeah, let's go straight on over to one Jake Watson.
Let me give my perspective as the person behind the mic. I was next to Jay Rogobuto, chief ADCC judge, and he said, that's going to score. He's going to get the 2 points. And Jay was looking over to the left, looking at Mo Jazz, and Mo actually was in the judge's chair for the first time in years and years for that match. And I was fully prepared to, do the whole commentator thing. Adam Bradley makes it happen in the last 20 seconds or whatever. In my head, when I watched it, and when I do watch it, I thought, okay, 2 points, right? And if you look at some of the ADCC videos that people have been circulating around social media, people even explaining it using the ADCC rules website, then it seems like the general consensus of the public is that it was 2 points. I'm going with Jay Regobuto, though. I'm going to use him as my scapegoat.
Okay. I'm going to use my time, and I'm not going to force you guys to take it. I want clarification here because maybe I don't understand things. So, Jake, my question to you was that you had some eyes on Mo. Mo famously put himself in this position. This is one of those positions where you are going to take the brunt of the criticism if you just happen to be the guy doing this or this. Yeah. What was Mo's reaction when that was going on?
I didn't actually see Mo's reaction.
You know,
I hate to say it.
I was
because here's the thing.
All right,
we're going right into overtime.
No,
we're going right into overtime, man. I don't got time to do that.
Which is this? I need to get to the bottom of this because I think this does fall on Mo. And I will tell you this: there is a way to make it right, and there is the possibility of giving him the invite. The question is, how does everybody feel about Bradley getting an invite when, in actuality, it doesn't feel right there either? I think that's the pressure of having that responsibility. I think that is something, and yeah, I'm not even going to give myself the time on this one. Fuck that. I'm going to go ahead and just make this point, which is this. I saw them. I know that ADCC has issues in terms of, man, it takes a long time to get points, but I do think it is normally a positive in the sense that when we get them, it feels definitive. When we were doing our broadcast, all I could think about was, I don't know if he's going to have enough time to settle, which is sometimes the discrepancy or the idea that sometimes it feels like sometimes 30 seconds to see points happen. In that close of a match, in that prominent of a spot, it did feel like a little bit of a fail. If Jay is yelling for it and he is on the judging panel, but he's doing commentary, the sad part of that is the commentary probably is not going to supersede the judging ability at that moment. So as a result of that, even Jay's testimony is not suspect. It's just not going to be given the weight or the inclusion you would initially think. Now, I don't know. I mean, listen, these also could be what we refer to in game show as Mo's rules, where it's just like, well, that's why we put producer's discretion at the bottom of every one of our agreements with our contestants. But I do argue this. It feels empty. It feels bad, and it's not to take away from Pixley, because Pixley did a great run as well. It's just something doesn't feel right about it, and I don't know that there's any way to amend it, which makes it worse.
Yeah, that's a valuable perspective. I think Mo hasn't done an ADCC live on his Instagram since that, but I imagine there's going to be plenty of people flooding the comments, so we'll probably receive an answer about what he's planning to do soon.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it should put Bradley at the top of the list to be a replacement, but the converse side of this is the people who don't like Adam Bradley, and there are some, mostly people who dwell in the comment section of Gordon Ryan's followings. I think they've been having a field day being like, you didn't win another thing. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Sure looked like he pretty much won trials with that. So Any additional comments or thoughts from you, Tim?
Yeah, I definitely would be feeling some kind of way if I was Adam Bradley. Like, for sure, I'd be talking some mad shit about it. You can't. I think, you know, the problem with ADCC is you need a magic 8-ball to figure out the rules. It's already hard enough for people trying to train athletes and get them ready for it. You're going through rules, you're watching videos. There's no real clear. I'm using Chat GPT to like condense the rules and explain. I did. I'm not kidding you. Like, that's not good for your tournament if that's how people have to kind of figure out the rules. And then you go like, no, it's real clear. And then you have something like this happen, which 80% of the people that watch that are like, what the hell's happening? So much so that Jay was like, what? That's points. It's like, oh, not today, guys. Like, you can mess up, but you can't mess up like that. Not on that stage with all that on the line. So that's tricky.
I will say this before we move on, and I wanted to spend time here, even though this isn't necessarily a topic that relates to PGF. Adam Bradley isn't in the PGF, but I do feel it's indicative of the sport by and large, which is if we do have any disputes, this is kind of how we attack them. But you did mention a little bit earlier the magic trick of getting the turtle. It's one of my favorite things to explain to people is, oh, yeah, if you get the turtle, it's kind of a nebulous zone. You don't really get points. It's not good or bad. It just kind of exists. And then it started making me think, like, yes, when we do start explaining ADCC rules, some of it comes with the inclination of, no, it doesn't work if you're on your elbow on a Saturday at 3 p.m. But it's like a happy hour. You can only get points from 3 to 4 p.m. And then afterwards, it switches again. So there are a few contingencies. I would just tell you this. At its core, bottom to top, normally points. So for whatever reason, we aren't there and you can't keep it that consistent or that simple, I hope you have a good explanation for it. And don't be alarmed if people have feelings about that explanation, because it still may not do the trick, because it may not either rectify it or give them the satisfaction of the result and outcome it could have been. So anyway, I digress.
Well,
Conscious Keelan Vlogs just said definitely a robbery. I mean, that's a more concise way of saying what I just said. So sure. Yes, you did get to that point very quickly. But we have time to fill here, my friend. And let's continue on. We move on to our next topic, which is simply the best. Who or what was the best match at Trials? I start with you. Well, I was going to go to Tim, but I see Jake kind of shaking in the chair. So I'm going to go to him first. Jake, what was the best match?
Oh, I just was, I was just getting ready. But I feel like the best match is actually one that did not have any commentary. It's one that kind of featured every single thing that you can have at ADCC. Some action off the mats, violence, submission attempts, passing attempts, a great display of wrestling. And that was Elder Cruz versus Achilles Rocha. Achilles looked absolutely fantastic that entire tournament. 17 years old. The kid is an absolute behemoth for how young he is. And he grapples really aggressively. He's very strong, very quick, and he met his match with Elder Cruz. Elder moved on, and he would move on to lose to William Tackett, but Achilles gave everything Elder Cruz could handle, and I thought that was a very, very good match. It was so crazy that people were up in arms either way. They were like, man, I thought Achilles won, or man, I thought Elder won, but nobody was upset with how the match went because it was so exciting. So I know I'm stopping 30 seconds earlier, but the time didn't start.
I didn't quite get the time little thing in time on that one. That was a little bit of my fault. So Tim, I'm going to go over to you on this one. What did you have for this one, sir?
You know, there were a lot of good matches. It's hard for one to stand out for me. To be honest, I was kind of frenetically jumping through matches trying to watch all the guys that I wanted to watch who seemed to all be on at the same time, which is a little tricky in the beginning. But I will tell you one that, and this may lack some of like the action in the sense of it didn't have a little bit of everything. But I really liked watching in the female division, Rocha, when she got her win, the pure joy and just happiness that she shared with her dad, Wagner, and her family. it just seemed like a real authentic thing that they'd been working for a real long time for. I know that Wagner's not everybody's best friend in jiu-jitsu, but one thing he is he's pretty damn good, and he's committed, and he's solid, and probably he's a Hall of Famer overall. And it was pretty cool to see that response from the family there, and just see some real joy and relief. So that was one of my favorite matches.
Very nice. Yeah, I mean, listen, not for nothing, there were a lot of very adorable family photos together with all of them celebrating. And I mean, between Achilles and Jasmine, they did have a very good run. So credit where credit is due. I want to give actually my acknowledgement to the match that could have been the best match, but I didn't get to see it because it blacked out. And that was Ryan Aiken and Chris Wojcik. So I'd love to know what it looked like, because in my imagination, it was pretty good. But if we're actually talking about one that I have to give an award to for best, hear me out here, guys. My best acknowledgement goes out to the Corbet brothers, because here's this. It's very easy at this point not to want to massacre your brother. That was going for the finish. And that is why I'm giving them the distinguished Ruotolo Brothers Award for Excellence in Trialsery. And yes, that's the exact word we're using. The Ruotolo Award for Excellent in Trialsery, because that was a great moment. And when he did go on, you had one brother go on to win third place, and the other brother beating the very difficult Keith Krikorian. So I thought in both those respects, I was like, you know what? God, speaking about families, that was a great moment for a family as well. So big weekend for families, or for brothers in particular, because you had the Tackett bros on one side. And then when I came home to explain it to my wife, I go, well, these other two brothers killed each other, and one took first and one took third. And I guess it's just a good weekend to have siblings in this tournament.
ADCC new rule should be brothers have to fight each other. Like if you're a sibling, you got to fight. It's just part of the ADCC thing. That's how it works.
It's like J-Rod just got to go up against Nicky Rod, even though they're,
Yeah. Too bad for you, buddy.
You're in different weight classes. You thought that was going to separate you? Nope. You guys, in order to get into the absolute, just so that I can even think of you for the absolute, you better fight each other. And you know what? The person that you have in the background, like a Mortal Kombat character, like Shang Tsung, in the background is just your mom. Just arms crossed like this, waiting to figure out who's getting the better Christmas present, who gets the better seat at the table, all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, we're going to break up some families here at ADCC. That's the new rule. All right, let's get back to some PGF action here, because that's what we're here. That's what we're about. But it was too big of a weekend to not acknowledge some of the big moments in ADCC and how they impact us here. And here's one question that we have for it, which is, what are other ways you should be able to get points in the PGF? Now, very famously, we saw this weekend that Andy Varela was kind of slapping around some folks. Now, granted, he might have gotten kicked. I argue this, if you're like in a match with Andy Varela, it's already a fight. But it got me thinking. We differentiate points at ADCC versus kills, breaks, and for speediness. What are other ways, gentlemen, that you believe we should propose that individuals can get points in the ADCC trials? I'm sorry, in the PGF version of what we do. Tim, I'm going to go over to you first.
Well, that's good. I'm going to crack one open for this. It's mineral water, so don't worry. But I'm glad you brought that up, because I think humiliation points need to be added to PGF. If you can humiliate your opponent, it should be worth something. And I think, maybe not 3 points, but it should be like a 2-point bonus. If you tap somebody with added humiliation, that's what we'll call it. He added humiliation. The ref can have a little signal for humiliation. Maybe he puts his head down, or he goes like this. Then he'll be like, oh, he got humiliated. How can we do that? Well, I know you don't want to talk about vomit, but that's one way, and I'm just going to say that. We'll move off of that. The way I'm thinking we could do is if you can hold your partner down and make them, like big brother them, basically, name 5 breakfast cereals, hold them in the sub, and you don't release it until they can come up with 5 breakfast cereals, then that's an example of getting humiliation points. If you could like do a little spit drill that comes out and just taps the forehead and you slurp it back up, one of those, that's humiliation points. Anything to humiliate your opponent, that would be worth a couple extra points.
To be fair here, Tim, I had no idea where this question was going to take us, and I still don't know where it was supposed to take us, but that was definitely uncharted territory. Jake, I give you the remaining 40 seconds.
I'm gonna give you a much more. I don't even know what the hell I just listened to, but I'm gonna give you a different answer. I'm gonna say high flying takedowns. So things like suplexes, giant judo throws, double legs that go all the way up on the shoulder and slam on the mat. Those should be worth maybe even triple what a normal takedown point is. I like that. I think that it incentivizes athletes to not just get the body lock on the back and throw the hooks in and do the old Henzo Gracie, take him to the ground gently, but hit him with a 12-6 suplex, and then you can go for the humiliation, spit on their head or whatever.
I'm really glad that was kind of where we ended up on that one. So thank you for that. As I go to fix the board, by the way. So this is how you can tell I am doing 2 things at once. All right, let's go back on over to me and the time that I have to fill. I've got 42 seconds here. All right. Here's what I'm going to tell you. You kind of took one of mine, which is a high octave throw, if you would. That's what they do in wrestling for those like high point, high arch, whatever. They sometimes get you 4 points. So I'm going to toss that one out because that was my real answer, but I'll give you the fake answers now. I think what you should do is we should give out 2 points for whoever talks the best trash. More than getting a submission in a fast amount of time, whoever talks the most trash is most valuable to us on the media side. So that's 2 points for there. Also, I will give a point to anybody who can do a promo while also having a match. So what I mean is they're actually reading out the scripted promos that we write, like nothing beats KFC with this bucket, and then you go out and you get it. Because guys, I'm telling you this, we need to merch this out. All of us are trying to get paid here. So yeah, if you're wearing OnlyFans, read out that message. I don't even care. If you got time to do it, rear naked choke, tell me something about your favorite popcorn and why it's Skinny Pop and why grapplers love Skinny Pop. Telling you. And listen, look at this guy over here. This dude didn't waste a second. He started giving props to his mineral water. I'll tell you this right now. This is Bell V. This is Per Aqua. You guys could sponsor us. I see you guys everywhere and I mean by everywhere, I mean at the Aldi I got this from. You guys could sponsor us. I'm not asking for LaCroix money. I'm asking for Levi. Don't you? No. Wait, you can't use a QR code.
Brought
The
to you
QR
by
code is the
Blackstone,
most.
baby.
Wow.
Flat top cast iron
right there.
grills.
You have cast iron grills as yours?
Blackstone gave me a free black. You know how important I am in the state of Arizona? I'm just joking.
It's a
In
big
the
deal.
state, yeah, no, I'm sorry, I forgot. You're the
Mike
governor of
Goldberg
Arizona
lives here.
over
No one
here.
cares about me, dude. Mike Goldberg lives here.
He's got that cookware money.
It's good. The
Oh, yeah,
cookware
bro.
money as well. So
My dad got it for Christmas.
let me point this out. Life of George says Inside BJJ was the best podcast. I mean, not that
Thank
I know
you.
of. And it says I had no idea Inside BJJ was still going on. I'm now going to start listing it. Yeah, I mean, they started back up. Some of us have never stopped, but like they took a break and they're back now. I'm just saying, different strokes, different folks. So when we go back to saying the best podcast, are we talking like best because their commitment to the sport is like top tier? And also, you're following me. You found me. So you're following us right now. This isn't I found you. You came to this show because of this guy. How dare you, sir, Life of George. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. All right. Next one. We go to Underdog. Gents, I'm genuinely curious about this one for this reason. We've spent so much time talking about some of the top seeds here at the PGF, but now it's made me wonder. Yeah, you're going to have your MVPs, but who's going to be the person that's going to show out? And what I mean by underdog, I'm talking about who's going to tell the best story, have the most obstacles to overcome and do it and impress this team. I'm going to go ahead and start on over with you, Tim Freeman. Go.
Well, man, it's like I don't want to keep going back to the same names, but I think it's hard to say the word underdog without Jamie Carnell's name coming up in the conversation. There's just no way about it. This is a guy who, when he went to the PGF trials in Vegas, he didn't have anywhere to go, so he hung out at a park for several hours before the show, and it kind of looked like he maybe spent the night in the park. Be honest, like with the way he rolled in, he was eating some snacks out of an AM/PM bag. He was drinking a Sunny Delight. Like, this is a dude who will take a Greyhound bus for 30 hours to go compete. So if you're talking about trials and tests and who's got obstacles, I would say Jamie Carnell is pretty high up on that list. And we know he's a little bit crazy too. So even more to deal with in terms of getting out there and getting ready. So he's got my vote.
Thank you, Jake Watson.
No, this is a Tim Freeman soapbox. I'm sorry, but I'm going to put him up there again. Let's go.
Wait, no. You
another
already
underdog.
did that. Didn't you do that this episode?
Oh, I can't even do it again. Oh, okay, here we go. So here is.
Oh, wait. No. Hold on. There should be a penalty for that.
Oh,
no,
you know
there
what?
should be
You're
a penalty.
Right. Tim Freeman.
I think there should.
Hold on.
Let me get punished later.
No. As moderator, I have the ability to override things. I forgot that. I have a very important part on this show.
I just wanted to hear him keep going. I'm so sorry.
I know you did.
I like
but here's the sad
BJJ.
part. He is right. There should be an infraction, and the infraction is that the time starts over. So now you have 3 minutes to fill on your own to espouse the underdogs. And yes, we put this should be very, very difficult for a guy who spent the entire weekend talking.
Yeah, but there's some names on here that I am not familiar with. Okay, here we go. So I think that if we're looking at the underdogs from this tournament, you could probably consider somebody like Max Hansen underdog in this tournament, right? Because he's coming up against people like AJ Agazarm. He's coming up against people like Elijah Carlton. David Evers is also returning PGF champion. He's got a lot of other names on there, especially somebody that he ran into, Andy Varela. But we're also looking at people like Jamie Carnell. We're looking at Mike John, Nathan Haddad. I think that's how you say it. It could be Haddad, could be Haddad. I'm unsure. I know him personally, and I really it would be nice if I knew how to pronounce his last name.
Don't.
Well, I also think Ben Eddy, somebody who could do a lot of really great work. And by the way, somebody who, when we were talking about the creative submissions,
hold on. Point of clarification time right here. I'm going to put a pause on this. Can I just get something here, just as a for instance, or just a information moment? Are you just listing the names of everybody? Because at this point, you're going down the names of everybody in there. And when who's the top underdog? You're like, well, it could be you. It could be Tim.
You told me to fill 3 minutes.
You know what? See, Jake, this is why we put you as number 9. If there's ever been any moment that has demonstrated why you are number 9 on the list, it is this. And you know what? Diddy, I hate to say it, might be coming up. And I don't like it because he has so many allegations against him. It's against the world. Here, let me go ahead and take the rest of your time, young man. I will take
thank you so much, Raph. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. Jesus. And it says, hold on. Underdog, Jet Thompson, 17-year-old taking on the pros. Thank you for that. Last question was bonus points for wrist locks. Yes. And it says Kevin Beering is the underdog and will make the playoffs. Bold statement there from Conscious Keelan. But let me go ahead and tell you who I'm feeling right now. I think the underdog, after a great performance, is Cam Hurd. Cam Hurd looked the part, was the part, acted the part this weekend at ADCC trials. He's feeling it. He's in a good spot. I know I previewed it a little bit earlier, but you can't get over the fact that he had several very good wins. And what happened is, if you get that momentum, you taste a little bit of it, you come back hungrier. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think Cam Hurd is going to take these next couple weeks, and I think it's going to make him be stronger. And you wouldn't think he could get stronger because that dude already looks pretty yoked. But I'm telling you this, watch how he's going to perform. And if he underperforms, watch the story that comes as a result of it. Take the information you got from ADCC trials. This should have been easy. I don't know why Jake Watson couldn't just pick one.
I was trying to fill 3 minutes, man.
Trying to fill 3 minutes, Jesus. You know, Flow Grappling has you filling,
dude.
Flow Grappling has you filling more time trying to cover for matches that aren't viewable. I know that for sure.
Yes, but there's stuff happening on a screen, and it changes moment by moment. I have to look at you guys stare at me while I give some freaking lengthy exhortation about the underdog.
Let me go ahead and point this out. The Conscious Keelan vlog says dominant ADCC point victories just don't mean anything in the rule set. Sure. But one thing that you do find in ADCC, one of the most grueling tournaments. So I feel like if you have a good performance at ADCC, it's entirely possible that with a little bit extra rest in between those two, it shows that you've got the endurance for it. It shows, I mean, John Combs kidding aside, people are going to remember the vomit, but they're not going to remember the run that he had up until that moment. The run he was having there, when he put together a very good game and put away Bobby Winter, another 16 top competitor. Like, it is impressive to watch the work he's doing. And Bobby was having a great run in his own right. So it's not apples and oranges, but I'm telling you, if you give him a taste, watch that dog want to go for everything on that bone. And that's kind of why I'm coming off of that one. So we're going to go to our next topic right here because we're not short on time, but I want to try and land this bird on an appropriate time. Our next topic is NXT, which is this. What weight class should season 7 be? Now, the powers that be may already know where they're going. I think maybe they've even said it, but I've never paid attention. As a result of that, I'm looking at us, the guys who are not informed. We know nothing in terms of what is happening behind the scenes. But if you were in charge, what would the next weight class be? And I'll start with you, Jake Watson, because apparently speaking be hard. So here we go.
Well, before the show started, I believe we were speculating, and I said under 99. But after some thought, I'm going with under 88 kilograms. I think that is such a fun division. I think that the ADCC West Coast trials totally showed that. And I'd like to see it. I think that it's also just stepping up from basically the under 77 kilogram division is what we're seeing a lot of these competitors come in at for this season of PGF. But going into next season, just going one step up, maybe the season after that, go to under 99. And then, we can go to 199 kilograms after that and go to the 500-pound division. Would be a lot of fun as well. But I'm going for under 88 kilos because I think that, as much as I think it'd be fun to see 500-pound people do exclusively turtle position, it would under 88 kilograms is a pretty fun division for me.
I want to point this out. This is perhaps the greatest miss here, I think, in all PGF bullpen history, which was, did you say 199 kg? And it was no, I was saying 99 kg. And you thought to yourself, well, I don't know. Now I kind of want to see how that's going to play out. Do we know anybody that size? I don't think we want to do that to them, guys. Tim, you're up.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do that to him. I'm going to yield my minutes back to Jake. Let's go, baby. I want to hear about the 199.
Okay. Yeah. You know what? It is within the rules. He is able to do that.
So the 199 kilogram division, you want to hear specifically about that, or would you like me to give you a real answer? All right. So in the 199 kilogram division, here's what I propose. There's a 3-year-long training camp leading into this tournament. We take the world's heaviest competitors who are already heavy, and we put them on a reverse Weight Watchers diet. We give them the fattiest foods. The most, not even protein. I'm talking carb and fat exclusive diet. You keep them on a 1 time per week sort of training regimen where all they're really doing is watching film and eating Doritos. That is exclusively their training program. Bring them back in. We see Dan Monasoyu go from an absolute hulking behemoth to just a really tall fat guy. And I think that would be a very, very good bracket to watch.
I hate to tell you this, Jake. That's probably better than your real answer. Legitimately, that had depth and soul to it. I think there's nothing better than basically taking the concept of The Biggest Loser and saying, how do we make that show worse? And mission accomplished on that. Here's the good news. Here's what I'll tell you guys. And I'm curious about your thoughts once I propose this, but this weekend was very interesting for a number of reasons. You couldn't go wrong with a number of those divisions. I think the plus 99 was in a weird space when Michael Perez was able to go ahead and win that one. I think that's insane. Good on him. But if you look over on the other sides of the world, you think to yourself, what was the one that was the most compelling to me? And I think every one of them has a case. But there is something about this 66 kg. If we could make that kind of weight class be featured next, I think the action is fast and furious, and I think there's a lot of people that you could see as individuals who stuck out, because there were definitely some top seeds on that I would be very interested in seeing. So Don't know how you guys feel about that one, but I'll kind of gather the board while you guys give me a second to go ahead and fill that one out. But any takers on that?
Yeah, the under 66 kilogram division is absolutely fantastic. Fun fact, if we're looking just at ADCC, there has never been a non-Brazilian champion in the under 66 kilogram division. And so that's a really, really competitive space, pretty much dominated by Brazilian competitors. And I think it'd be cool to see all of the world's best under 66 kilogram competitors from America compete at the PGF.
All right. Noted. January 6th. Jake Watson says.
Wait. What?
It's just your favorite date. That's all. It has nothing to do with where you were.
January 6th?
Anyway,
what does that have to do with?
It has nothing to do with it. Jake, it's a joke. We're moving on.
Frankly.
I want to point this out to you, which is this. I think you're right. I think that USA has a nice component here. I think of it like this. It's that it's fast. And if this one's going to be a nice prestige tournament and you see Andy Varela getting nice highlights and the pace being fast, what happens if you put all these micro machines out there that have nothing but speed and endurance for days? Like, even if you say, Corbet brothers, we bring you in. Keith Krikorian, we bring you in. Like, all these people who top line that, to me, are very good practitioners. And even if you go deeper in the seeds, there were people who I know could put on a show just in that division. Like, it is wild. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but you also have a Gianni Grippo in there. You have all these people that are compelling cases that are similar to what we have in the PGF that I go, oh, that could be very interesting. And then you even have guys like a Mike John that you go, haven't you gone down in weight before? Like, couldn't you go and make that weight too? So it opens it up to a lot of people that we know both on the PGF side that are current and people who also did very well. So that was what I thought.
Like Gary Tonin.
I mean, it'd be nice if we got Gary Tonin. I think he's busy, unfortunately. Yeah. Although we could force him to do it. I think we have some blackmail on him. I think we could figure out some stuff. Although, you know what? The worst part is the worst pieces I've put out against him have always done well. So goes to show what I know. Tim Freeman, I'm going to ask you this question next because we had the opportunity after seeing the ADCC trials this weekend for some individuals to stand out and maybe get the invite. And we've asked this a couple times before, but now we have some new evidence. And we did propose the thought of a golden ticket. So now I ask you, Tim Freeman, who should get that golden ticket in the event we have to fill a space or just based on the performance that they did?
Well, I like the idea of a golden ticket. And I think the person that comes to mind, they might not be quite heavy enough. I think they did ADCC at 66 kilograms, but if I got to pick, and this person might be able to do this at the weight class that we're doing season 6 at, that would be Keith Krikorian. He subbed his way through most of the matches, lost a tough one in the end there that kind of took him out of it. But I'd like to see a guy like that step in and be involved, get a golden ticket. And if you could convince one of the Tackett boys to jump in, those guys might be the most exciting grapplers in jiu-jitsu right now in terms of their style. They're very dynamic, their pace, there's absolutely no hesitation. Whereas like the Rutulo brothers, they don't have hesitation, but they're almost wild, like wildly without hesitation, where the Tackett brothers are a little more measured, but again, there's just absolutely no gap in their game. I think those guys would be really exciting.
All right, Jake.
All right, small pivot from the Tackett bros to Cody Steele. I think that he's a great under 77 kilogram competitor, and the kind of style that he brings is something like, imagine Cody Steele, Andy Varela. That's a great match. Cody Steele versus a lot of the different people in this bracket, I think, would be a welcome addition. I know that he was not necessarily competing at trials this time. He's very busy with MMA. And now that I am about 30 seconds into this spiel, I realize that Cody Steele has a match about the same week as PGF. So I rescind everything I just said, and instead I will say one of the Corbet brothers, because they are also people who walk around about the division of the PGF world. that we're doing this season. And I think that they'd be very, very exciting. They have sort of that no hesitation, but still really measured style that you were talking about, Tim. And I think it would mesh well with the bracket that we have, or the roster that we have, rather.
Okay. So you guys were stuck on those folks. I can't help but think of this, and take me at my word on this one, which is, listen, everybody wants to think about one Cade, but there's another Cade out there. This Cade, and I don't know how to say his last name. I don't know if it's one of those DJ names like DJ Tisos or whatever, or Cios, whatever. I'm so sorry, Cade. But this gentleman, Cade, who had a very good run, also ended up being Cam Hurd, who, by the way, somebody said in the comments, best thing Cam Hurd did was pull guard, showed growth. It goes to show that if you have a win over one of our current competitors, it's also something of interest, something of note. I know we mentioned kind of an extending out to the Corbeys, if you would, but I think the idea is this. How about you have those brothers split one slot and they twin magic it back and forth? So I think that's what you do. You just get brothers to split one spot and see what happens.
I like that idea. That'd be like a la the Killer Bees in WWF wrestling. We could just put masks on them. You'd never know which was which. You just swap them in and swap them out. Only the coach would know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Except the Corbet brothers are not twins. DeAndre Corbet is 4 years older than Gavin Corbet.
Something. Listen,
Yeah,
you're from
thing.
the same family. You're twins at this point. You know what I mean?
All right.
Twin and bro.
Let me make sure here. Who said twins? Because when I was saying twin magic, it's the concept in pro wrestling. If I said it.
Okay. Well, I was just
okay. So the idea of twin magic is what you do is you say, "Oh, we look so similar. You can swap us out at any given time," and that's how pro wrestling works. For whatever strange reason. But we did just get this note, and this is an open forum. You can ask us anything very quickly while we have a couple minutes. But Keelan is letting us know that PGF World 6 Countdown will go live tonight on UFC Fight Pass and on their YouTube. So that's some big news. And if you haven't gotten the chance to check out Keelan's documentary, that is also on Fight Pass. It is no gi grapplers, no money, so good. No qualms about it. Excellent work by that. I think if you guys get the opportunity to watch that, it'll give you some insight into what we've done in the past at PGF before and what we're looking to do in the near future. So I'd highly, highly recommend that. And I look forward to seeing what new content is coming out that way. So, gentlemen, any closing thoughts before we start to circle here?
Tim?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, closing thoughts. Great weekend of fights. I think, we got a little more clarity on some things. There were some things I'm not surprised about. I think we knew, the top 5 guys that did ADCC trials from the PGF. We kind of knew they were going to do well. Some surprises. Some guys did pretty good. I think Combs was a little bit of a surprise. He actually did really well, right? It's unfortunate that he went out that way. Cam Hurd did really well. And then there were a handful of 1-and-outs. And, it's like time's going to tell if that's going to impact those guys coming up to season 6. But I'm really excited for it. I think the West Coast trials were kind of like the one milestone that was in front of PGF season 6. And now that that's gone, I think it's a clear path there. And I can't wait to be there, man.
Jake.
Yeah, just a huge privilege to be a part of this pre-show. Appreciate you guys tuning in, those of you guys who are here. And ADCC West Coast Trials was also a very big privilege to commentate. And I got to see some of the greatest matches across the weekend and call them alongside Jay Rigobuto. I'm very excited for what that means for PGF, the competitors that were there, and how that kind of shakes up the bracket, as well as just the future of PGF world. I mean, Brandon has put together an amazing thing, the whole team. I got to talk with Brandon this weekend. He's super excited. He's adamant about creating a sport and having a league for jiu-jitsu. And that's just really uplifting and exciting to hear about. So just privileged to be a part of it.
Thank you for that. Gentlemen, we're going to have you plug your stuff here in just a second. But I did want to point this out. It was great to see names like Combs, Hansen. It was also great to see one like Varela and see those gentlemen continue to do great things while on a platform like ADCC when you know that in a few weeks they get to do a equally, well, I don't even know if it's equal, but I mean, it's a very different opportunity to be part of a team, yet still competing on the individual basis while racking up points. So there is something interesting, and I did get a note here, which is this. Keep an eye on UFC 300. You might hear something about PGF.
Oh, snap. That'd be dope.
That is pretty cool.
Well, might being the opportune word.
And you might
Yeah.
not. Yeah.
It's like it doesn't happen, and Keelan's like, what are you going to do?
You know what? Hey, guys, tune in to UFC 300. You might hear something about the Grappling Hour.
Yeah.
There you go. That's
Yeah.
a good way to plug that one as well. I mean, listen, that's very good stuff for us. That means and bodes well for the entire team. And I'm going to have you guys plug your individual channels and where people can find you. And yes, lots of eye rolling. See, this is why nobody trusts you, Keelan. Like putting stuff like this is what makes you very suspicious to most people. Last things. Of course, while we have the group here, it should be noted that there will be a draft very soon. I think it's next week. I guess it's going to depend on if certain announcements happen before UFC 300, Keelan, who I'm getting texted over on the side. When are you doing the draft? And I go, when everything is finalized. Because I'm not taking John Combs if he's not showing up, because that's going to suck. So I want to make sure we do this as proper as possible. And more information. You know what? Tune into UFC 300 for more information on that one. Gentlemen, we're going to go around the ways. I'm going to go ahead and preview each of you, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to say your piece. Jake Watson, tell the people where they can find you.
All right, guys, you can follow me on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram at Jake Watson Media, and I will be commentating pretty much. I mean, you look at a jiu-jitsu event, chances are I'm there, which is a huge privilege to be able to do. But I'll be at Aiga in Brazil in May. I will be commentating not commentating, but on the pre-show of PGF World Season 6, as you guys know. And tune in for everything that I have coming up in the future, because I'm getting more and more busy, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Tim.
YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, MySpace, Friendster, Napster, Grindr, Inside BJJ. That's where you can find all things submission, grappling, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. If you're out in Nashville, come see me at 10th Planet Nashville. And if you're out in the hood, in the 209, make sure you stop by 10th Planet Stockton.
You know, actually, Grindr is probably a smarter idea than you think. Because if you really just put swap left or right, it just takes you to an episode. You're like, do you like this dude? He looks jacked. Oh, womp womp. Too bad. Now you're listening to a 60-minute interview with them. So there is that opportunity to go ahead and do that. I'm going to let Jake get out of here. But before I do, gentlemen, great work. Jake, excellent broadcasting as always over on the Fight Companion. Or I'm sorry, over on the actual stream, which is good. I wanted to say you did great work from what I could hear. Not that I could hear all of it, but very happy for you, young man. Keep up the good work. Tim, thank you for dropping in with us on our Fight Companion. It was a lot of fun to have you come in and drop in for a few seconds. And as you were previewing your stuff, just so people can remember, I want to point this out here because I had no idea Inside BJJ was still going on. We just want to make sure people remember, go see our friends over at Inside BJJ. You can tell what kind of fans they have when they don't even pay attention to the posts that say, hey guys, we got new episodes. So womp womp. There is that. All right, ladies and gents, these are your folks that you'll be seeing for the PGF preview team and post team in a couple weeks. It's getting closer. I hope you're excited. April 21st, the action starts. Jake Watson, I'm going to let you head on out as you were 2 minutes over. We will see you back next week. And I'm going to go ahead and close this on up. All right, gents, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you guys. It has been a fantastic day. Some reminders, if you like the merch, and I hope you do, check this out, Grappling Hour t-shirts. Go on over rafasparza.com/merch, or you can go over to grapplinghour.com. There's t-shirts and there's hoodies. And I just saw one of our good friends, Chris Wojcik, was rocking the hoodie, which was dope. And I really love seeing that. That means he loves us and he's given us some support. And he took a photo next to Keith Krikorian, who is conveniently not wearing a Grappling Hour hoodie. Just saying. Could be cool. Anyway, we love Keith as well. Congratulations. Good work, Keith. Last couple of reminders, patreon.com/grappling hour. Check out our stuff there. If you like what we do for our interviews, you can see our interviews 30 days before anybody else. We have a very busy and packed season right now. The reason why I'm thinking about this is you're going to see some of the actual winners from ADCC trials with us coming up very, very soon. So we're booking out those things right now. And if you want to be the first people to see that, go join us at grapplinghour.com/ all this stuff. Patreon.com/ grapplinghour. That's the big one. Last couple things to remind you guys, if you liked, comment, and subscribe, you're dope. And if you need to comment on something, tell us who you think should be given a golden ticket at the upcoming PGF season if you haven't seen somebody on the board thus far in. Last thing, join us on the Discord. You can also catch our episodes on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Ladies and gents, that's going to do it for us here at the Grappling Hour. We thank you for watching the Bullpen. It's been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats.